Madam President, next month, the pride and joy of Rock Island, Illinois, and my good friend, Lonnie Stephenson, is stepping down from his post as president of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. While Lonnie's leadership will be missed, he leaves behind a legacy of amazing service and commitment to working families. Lonnie's the son of a factory worker from Moline, Illinois. He knows as well as anyone the challenges working families face. He saw right through the failed practices and policies of trickle-down economics, which led to a shrinking middle class and crumbling infrastructure. Only the rich got richer. Lonnie started off as an apprentice wireman with the electricians, and even then he knew the value of a union. He rose through the ranks of Ibew Local 145, becoming vice president before taking over as business manager in 1991. All the while, he fought to make things better for families in his home area of the Quad Cities through safe working conditions, fair wages and benefits, and a secure retirement. He spent countless hours organizing and grew his local from 700 to more than 1,100 members. He gave back to his community in so many different ways, organizing annual blood drives, encouraging community service by its members, supporting the Red Cross when historic flooding hit the Quad Cities. I remember joining Lonnie for Labor Day parades in the Quad Cities, where his standing in the community and respect of his fellow union members was legendary. A good friend of mine, former Senator Paul Wellstone of Minnesota, who tragically died in a plane crash 20 years ago, used to say, "We all do better when we all do better." No one has embodied this philosophy more than Lonnie Stephenson throughout his nearly 5 decades of service to labor movement. Here's the good news. Lonnie steps down knowing we have one of the most pro-union presidents in history, carrying on his legacy to improve the lives of working families. Lonnie has been by President Biden's side from the start. Their special relationship was evident last May in Chicago when President Biden became the first sitting president to address an IBEW national convention. I was glad to be on the program. And last year, when President Biden signed the infrastructure bill, an historic investment, I saw a familiar face at the signing. Lonnie was right there at the White House, along with 11 other IBEW members, a reflection of his dedication to creating jobs. But it's not just the bipartisan infrastructure law. Lonnie was a driving force on many more pieces of historic legislation, from the CHIPS and Science Act to the Inflation Reduction Act to saving the pensions of millions of union members and retirees in the American Rescue Plan. These groundbreaking victories were no guarantee. Lonnie faced some daunting challenges during his tenure as a president of IBEW. The former Illinois governor supported an agenda of unrelenting hostility to unions. That governor is gone now, but he spearheaded a litigation effort that resulted in a Supreme Court decision overturning 40 years of law and that rigged the economy against working families. And former President Trump made it clear he favored special interests at the expense of many of Lonnie's workers and families. Then Lenny was faced with global pandemic that created an unprecedented economic crisis, shuttered businesses and created massive unemployment. For most, it would have been hard to see a silver lining, but not for Lonnie. He faces challenges head on. He stood up for working families and organized thousands of new IBEW members, and he made sure that his union's new membership was reflective of the community, strong, diverse, an initiative to expand membership to traditionally underrepresented populations, like women and people of color. And we're seeing these gains across the country. Approval of labor unions is at the highest point in the last 57 years, and union election petitions increased 53% last year. That's no accident. It's because of the hard work of people like Lonnie, and the workers are fortunate to have him on their side. More recently, Lonnie has worked to prepare IBEW members for the jobs and industries of the future. One example, the bipartisan infrastructure law. Lonnie put a provision there that includes $7.5 billion for construction of national electric vehicle charging networks built with union labor. And in Illinois, IBEW is leading work with community colleges and schools, high schools, to train the next generation of workers. Illinois and the entire nation has been lucky to have had a champion of working families like Lonnie Stephenson. I'm going to miss him working in a formal capacity. I feel fortunate to consider him a friend. Loretta and I wish him a long and joyous retirement with his wife, Dawn, and their children, Stacy, Katie, Marty, Jacob, and Andrew. Madam President, I yield the floor. Suggest the absence of a quorum.